Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Imagine Me TV. I am your host, Arthy Lawrence, and I am so delighted, so excited to come to you every Sunday evening. Real talk, real issues, real life. This is what the show is about. We reach out to professionals or just everyday people. It doesn't matter what your status is, but we know everyone go have real issues. Life is real, and there's just different things that we go through. So the show exists to bring different people from different walks of life, but mainly Caribbean descent, where we can empower, encourage one another. So right now, we've just gotten started, and what we like to do, we like to just give a shout out to our viewers. And like I said, we've had viewers all over the world. We've had viewers in China, in Russia, in Ukraine, London, Paris, all the Caribbean islands like Barbados, Dominica, Guadeloupe, St. Vincent. We're praying for St. Vincent with the what's going on right now. We're praying that God will cover the people. But we're worldwide. We're global. Ghana. I actually had a guest from Nigeria. My guest tonight is from Sudan. My goodness. I'm telling you, we are all over the world. And I thank God for that. So just when we go into a commercial break, I want you guys to go ahead and invite your friends, invite your cousin, invite your neighbors, invite everyone, because I know tonight's show is going to be super empowering. It's going to be encouraging. We're gonna talk about some of the stuff that my guest went through and how we persevere, how we conquer to be who he is today. And you are going to be encouraged. If you have a young man that needs some guidance, you know what? Make sure you go ahead and call him, tell him, come on here, because the show is about to go on and it's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to read to you real quick just a little bit about Dr. Fountain. Dr. Fountain, PhD, he plans on releasing his first book this April. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because I don't want to give out too much of his secret. I have known him I'm not going to tell you guys, because then you're going to guess my age. And you all already know I'm 29, and that's the number I'm sticking to. And if I tell you, you never mind. We're just gonna go with it. So once again, welcome to Imagine Me TV, and we're gonna go into a quick commercial break. And when we come back, the show is going to get started or continue actually. So let's go into a commercial break. And we are back. We are back. Welcome, Dr. Fountain. I am so proud to introduce my guest to you, Dr. Fountain. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Actually, a very good day to you. I'm excited to be here, and yeah, I'm really pleased to be talking to you today.
I know oh my goodness, I think we've been trying to connect for the last like 5 years. I think since after that hurricane, was it Maria or something like that? I spoke to you
Maria, yeah.
and then we've been trying to connect, and I missed you, you missed your call, you missed, and it's just, but I guess we know this is God's plan. This is the time that we had to make. Right now, I know you are in Sudan, and what time is it over there right now?
It's actually South Sudan, and it is just about 12:30 in the morning. So I've already started the new day. It's Saturday.
Oh, okay, wow, that's usually when
Yeah.
I'm actually really. I don't think I'm really up at that time because I go to bed like 1, 2, 3 o'clock. Sometimes, yeah, but 12 o'clock I'm really, really awake. Wow. Well, you know what?
Yes.
I feel really honored that you are willing to stay up at that time to, be on the show. Um, I'm excited about it, and we're gonna go right into the show because I know we have an hour and we have so much to talk about. So I did tell him this is Dr. Fountain, but tell us more about yourself, where you from, or anything that you want our audience to know about you.
All right. Thanks a lot. I'm from Dominica, one beautiful island of Dominica. Um, I basically currently, as you said, I'm in South Sudan. Um, but I grew up in Dominica, and then from Dominica, I went to the U.S. where I was initially at the IMF for actually 13 years at the IMF. Went back to Dominica, got involved in local politics for a few years, and left, and now I'm here in South Sudan. An economist by training.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk to you and to share a few things, about what I'm doing and so what's going on
Okay.
this side of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm from Dominica as well, and I know a lot has changed, but tell us maybe just a little, a few things about Dominica. Just for someone that haven't been there, because we have guests from all over the world. Just tell us just a little bit about it.
Dominica is one of these truly unique islands. And when I think of Dominica, when people think of the Caribbean, for example, they think of white sandy beaches, coral reefs. Dominica is anything but. We have very few white sandy beaches. We are a very volcanic island. I tell people that Dominica is a very unique country in a sense that in the entire Caribbean region, there are 16 volcanoes, active volcanoes. And on Dominica, we have 9 of the 16.
Oh,
So it's a very small island, just 15 miles long by 30 miles across. But it's rugged, it's beautiful, very
wow.
mountainous island of obviously all of these mountains and all of these volcanoes. But it's a truly unique island. We consider ourselves to be the nature island of the world just because we have so much, beauty, natural beauty, lakes, rivers. In fact, we have about 365 rivers that is flowing down to the sea from Dominica. So in a way, it's a very different type of country when you think about the rest of the Caribbean. Very unique in that respect, and I'm very proud to call Dominica home.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I did not know about those 9 volcanoes, but it seemed that there's so many things that we're special for. Okay, volcano is. I don't know if I want to be special for that, but we have the most rivers, and also I think we have the second highest mountain I think in the world, right? And also the boiling lake. There's only 2 in the world, I think, and the other one is in Dominica, right? So we're very unique.
Yes, very unique in that sense. Extremely unique. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow. Yeah,
Yes.
I loved it when I was really young, but even when I go back, it's really I really love it. I love I love everything about it. But I think that and I'm not really sure. Are we considered like a third world country though?
Well, yes, we are considered to be a developing country with regards to the other Caribbean countries. We are kind of lagging behind to some
Yeah,
extent,
which is
and
going to my question though. Have you seen like significant improvement in Dominica since you've been gone, or
well, let's say we have not been growing as quickly as one would have liked. I think to the very large extent, the country, as far as growth is concerned, has been very stagnant, which is kind of unfortunate because you would think that there is a lot that is going for the country that we could develop. For example, we could develop our tourism sector, could be a lot more advanced. Our agriculture sector could be a lot more advanced. We have a really exceptionally good education system. So you have a lot of trained Dominicans, very good education system. But we've not exploited it to the extent that I would have hoped. And that is something that, when you think about it, we could be a lot further with regards to our development. Part of the problem has been our topography, of course, because we are so rugged. It's been difficult to have any kind of large-scale agriculture. It's also been difficult to have a real modern airport. We've not really invested in it, the kind of investment that needs to be. So to a very large extent, we've not done as well as I would have hoped. And but like everything else, I think it's a question of people coming together and trying to see how best to move the country forward.
Yes, and I like that because you actually touched on one of the questions that I had. See, like, where do you see the future of Dominica? What improvements do we need to make, and what steps can we take to develop a better Dominica? And you're right, because I mean, even in a lot of the islands are a lot smaller than Dominica, and Dominica has so much more resources than them as well. And I will look at some of them. They don't, for some of the resources that we have, like you said, the tourism, I think that should be something that's booming in Dominica. But I guess that not having an international airport, is one of the problem. And what you said in the ending is for us coming together for the common good to make the country a much better country. Because I mean, I left home so many years ago, and even when I went back, to me, what I see, there could be so much. There could be so much more. And I honestly don't really know the reason for that. I try to do a little research, and I maybe need to go into it even deeper. But I think even those, I know for myself, because many times people will say, well, you're talking about Dominica, and why don't you do something yourself? I know I have personally tried to do something there, and for some reason it got shut down because, I'm a fashion designer. You were one of the persons that I spoke with too at first. Remember when we were putting the business plans together, and you gave me some pointers and helping me. I think that was years ago. And one of the plans that I told you that I had for Dominica, and you said that was really good. And I did try to do it, but it just got squashed. And I think if there anyone that's from Dominica, people that's looking, watching the show, that hopefully they're not going to criticize, but say, you know what? How can we come together? What do you guys need? Let us, come unite together to help Dominica, because we should be doing a whole lot better. We have enough land, enough spaces. We should have our universities on the island. Dominica, we have a lot of young designers, and I will talk in that aspect, designers and models and young girls, young men that would love to be in the arts. We have amazing artists. I think that should be something that all these different things that the island should have put in the future of the youth first versus, ourselves. So I hopefully, I don't know, do you think there's a lot of hope for that though to even
I think part of the problem we've had mainly, well, one of it is that a lot of our people with the creativity and the ideas have had to migrate, and that has been one of the really serious issues, and that a number of skilled, qualified Dominicans migrate, and also the leadership, the governance has not been the best. I will not spend so much time on this, but our governance has been a real issue. For any country to prosper, for any country to move in any good direction, you need a solid vision from the government. Your government has to be on top of the policy. They have to be able to create the enabling environment. They have to be able to allow the conditions that would allow people's creativity to flow, allow investments to come in. All of these things have been stalled, unfortunately for us. And because of this governance issue we've had, really mal-governance, and even when the country has made a lot of resources, there is a lack of accountability, a lack of transparency. All of these things has worked very, very much against us. So obviously, very, very unfortunate.
Wow, and that is true, especially for the young talent and the young professional, as you say. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually have a question. I think a couple questions about that. So even if you touch a little bit, I'm going to skip all the way down, which is like question 11. So it looks like our minds are thinking the same. Do you believe there's a knowledge drain in Dominica, with talent nationals moving away to seek opportunities in other countries? And I'm going to give both questions, and you can ask me if you want. In your opinion, what do you believe is the cause, and is there a way to utilize these talented persons in the diaspora?
Yeah, this issue of the brain drain of people living, the creativity living, it's a natural phenomenon in that sense, in that people tend to go out. And what we also have is that because we don't have a tertiary education system in Dominica, to get to university, you have to leave the country. And probably for every 10 people who leave, probably 1 or 2 return, if all that. Yeah. So that has been there. It has been there from the very, very beginning. Dominicans have always been. I'm a keen student of history, and when you look back, Dominicans have always been going out. Have always been living the country. I mean, we had massive migration during the Windrush generation in the UK. Going way before that, Dominicans left when they were building the Panama Canal. Dominicans have been traveling to the United States as early as the 1800s, migrated. So we've always had that migration out. And because of that, you have in the diaspora a tremendous group of Dominicans who at different times, different people have tried to really bring all of that together and to help, see how we can do it. I know, for example, there is a really excellent group. Can't remember the name right now, but it's a cultural group out of New Jersey that is really excellent. They preserved the traditional dances of Dominica, the quadrille, the ballet, the mazouk, the heel and toe, and so on. And you have different groups at different times doing different things, but we've not had this concerted effort, I believe, to really pull the diaspora together and see how best we can help Dominica. But that is something I believe that, again, if we have the leadership in Dominica that was actively going out and seeking these people, we'd probably have seen a difference in that regard.
Yeah, I like what you say, and hopefully someone will take that in a positive way, that they're going out and actively seeking to bring stuff to Dominica, like you said, because I think we're one of the countries where most of our people, I'm one of them who left, most of our people have left, because I look at Barbados, I think they have, I don't know, they have a lot of people there. I mean, all the countries, they have so much more people than us, but we have more room. And this is, I'm just going to throw this joke in there. I was watching the news. Is it the news or something from Dominica? And I heard our prime minister telling the people to go have more babies because
yeah.
I thought that was funny. I don't know. They might really, well. But I mean, that is not try. I think if we find more opportunities for the people and there's more stuff going on, it's then maybe the babies will come or whatever. But when you can't even really take care of your family, why would you want to bring another child into the world? That's another show by itself. So let's not even go there. But yeah, let's get so I know we both love our country, and I am still actively trying to do stuff to help. And even if I've been shut down, I'm not gonna stop. Maybe one day I will get to open the designing school like I wanted to open there. It will happen. I have to have the faith. Okay, so we are going to talk about something amazing that you have coming up. You're releasing your first book. So can you tell us more about it? Tell us the name of the book and everything like that, when it will be released, and go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm truly excited. I'm about a week away from releasing a work that took about 3 years of research. It's a historical account of the Maroons of Dominica. The title of the book is The Maroons of Dominica, 1764 to 1818.
Wow.
And the subtitle is Resistance, Revolts, and Freedom from Slavery. What it does is that it tells the story of the Maroons of Dominica. The Maroons, or if we refer to them in Dominica as the Necmamo, these were Africans who were brought to the plantations when the slave trade started in Dominica. The British slave trade into Dominica started in 1764. And from the very beginning of the importation of slaves into Dominica, they began to abscond. They began to leave the plantations and find refuge in the many hills. I talked about the volcanoes of Dominica. We have mountains and forests and so on. And the slaves were able to leave the plantations and set up communities within those forests. Not only did they set up communities, but they actively challenged slave society. So the Maroons, after they escaped, they would go back and they would try to entice those who were enslaved, those who were working the fields, to leave. They did that sometimes violently. So you have a history of extreme violence, which actually, and a lot of people don't know, and that is something I'm really proud to reveal to the world and to bring to the world, because in my research, I never understood the extent to which the actions of the Maroons really impacted the abolition debate in the United Kingdom. In fact, it was the actions of the Maroons in Dominica that really provided the fuel for the abolitionists like William Wilberforce, Granville Sharp, and so on. When they made the case as to why slavery should be ended in the British West Indies, they used Dominica as their case in point.
Wow.
And that is something a lot of Dominicans were not aware of, and I personally was not aware of it until I began doing the research, which incidentally, came very accidentally. I've always wanted to write something. I wasn't sure what to write about, and as I said, I'm a student of history. And one time I was online looking at some old British newspapers. And then it occurred to me, why don't I check to see if the names of the Maroons are mentioned? And I put in the name, first time I put in was Bala. And to my surprise, I got hundreds of hits on the name Bala. And you're talking about newspapers going back 1785, 1786.
Wow.
And I was amazed. I was stunned. And when I realized the amount of information that was available about the Maroons of Dominica, I decided that was a good thing to do. So what I've been able to do is to really dig into those archives, the newspaper archives, but also the British archives, because within the British archives you have, the way once Dominica became a colony of England, the United Kingdom, they would send governors. And they kept a very close watch on Dominica. So you have just hundreds and hundreds of pages of correspondence between the governors in Dominica and the British colonial secretary. And all of that is there. The whole history of the island, what was going on almost daily basis is there. So I was able to really, get some excellent information to really portray in this book. And that's why I'm really excited about it. I'm truly excited because it shows a different side of the Necmamo. For example, I'll just give you one example of that. I mean, I grew up in a small village in Dominica called Grandford. Mm-hmm. But my parents, they used to live on the estate called the Rosalie Estate. Oh. And their great grands actually were slaves on that estate. Wow. Now, the Rosalie Estate is a very interesting history. because it was at that estate on 6 December 1785 that the same Bala, the most feared and the most radical leader, who was, by the way, a prince in Guinea. He was a prince when he came. He was taken, and that's something else about the history. They were taking. They were not just going and take ordinary villagers. They would take the cream of the crop as well to bring to the islands. And he launched an attack on the Rosalie estate. In the process, there were 5 white men, including the manager and the owner. They killed 4 out of the 5 were killed, and they liberated the entire estate. There were 180 slaves working on the estate, and they basically liberated the entire 180 slaves. And that particular event was reported in practically every newspaper at the time, not only in the United Kingdom, but also in the United States. Because I could talk at length about that relationship between the US and the UK, but it just goes to show how the actions of those Maroons, how critical it was in altering the course of history. And the fact that I'm able to tell that story, it really is a great feeling. Having grown up in the shadow of the Rosalie estate and not knowing, in fact, I only found out about Bala very late, because we are not taught our history.
Yes.
We don't know very much about what's going on. And I will tell you, when Dominicans understand the role that our forebears played in ending this thing, the role that Dominica played in the whole history of the New World, and just a quick aside, Kathleen, when I was doing the research, I also came across this, like at the very beginning, like the famous guys we hear about, the famous pirates and the famous privateers like Hawkins and Francis Drake and so on. All of these individuals came to Dominica because Dominica, if you know the Arc of Islands, Dominica is the one that is the most to the east. So that when any traffic coming out of Africa, the first country that they would touch on is Dominica. So Dominica at that time was used as an area. In fact, all of the slaves, even slaves going up to the United States of America, they would stop them in Dominica after their 4 or so weeks of travel across the Atlantic. They would have them take a stop in Dominica to bathe them, to refresh them, and so on, and make them continue their journey up north. And Dominica was a critical watering hole, a critical stop for us. So you have records again in the archives. I saw records of letters talking about Dominica. Even at the very first, the doctor to Christopher Columbus, when he saw Dominica, he said that is the most beautiful country he's ever set eyes on. Wow. And he was gushing about the beauty of the place. And then when they found out about the warm water and the river and the fresh water and so on. So Dominica, going back to the late 1400s, has always caught the eye of the world in that regard. And I've been able to put some of that in the book as well, because I have to set the kind of the basis, the background for this. So yeah, so as you can tell, I'm very excited about this, and it's just about to be released. Yeah,
I'm very much intrigued. I'm very much schooled tonight. I definitely want to read that book, and I don't know who we're gonna have to call or talk to, but I truly believe, and I'm sure everybody that's watching the show and that will watch it afterwards, every Dominican will know that this book needs to be in every school in Dominica, whether it's the elementary school, the high school, the primary school, the preschool, because this is such amazing information. And hopefully we can find someone. I think that's a really great movie. So maybe we need to talk about, putting a movie together, because, people are like, like that. But I know like 90% of what you talking about. I heard the word negmao, and I'm not super versed in patois, and all I think negma was someone that run away or something like that. When I heard from my friend I'm forgetting his name. He's gonna kill me, Dr. Dangoben. And I was just like, oh, neck mama, that just seemed like. Now that you go into the whole story, and I think maybe a lot of people don't even know about it. So this book definitely, and you're gonna tell us where we can find it when it's gonna be released and stuff like that, and hope we can have a nice release party, because I truly believe not just in the school, but everybody should know that. But in your research, did you see our last name anywhere that Lodas?
No, I did not, which is probably a good thing because, and I'll tell you why it's a good thing. Because if your last name is there, it would mean that your forebears were actually slave owners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the slaves had only one name.
Oh.
So it was Rachel, it was Magdalene, it was Zabeth, it was, just first names, but then the full names were only given to the slave owners.
Oh.
So, like names like Caraway, Sorrento, Dairampo, all of these Savre, all of these are slave owning name, because one of the unique features of Dominica's system was that you had a large number of Creole or mulattoes, as they call them, basically the offsprings of usually white male and black women, because they exploited the women like that.
Yeah.
And so these individuals now, they had a little more privilege, and they ended up owning slaves themselves. Wow. So a lot of these last things, and you can see them even now in Dominica, when you see somebody of what we call high color, you can bet that this person's family was slave owners. And so that is something that as you go through, you just see name and like, wow, look at this, this person owned that estate in Puerto or in La Ronde, or yeah, it's quite revealing.
I've just been very wanting to find out more about our last name, and the village that is called Luda, where they have the freshwater lake and all this stuff. I was like, okay, I really want to know more about. Does that even tie to our last name and stuff, to the Loaders?
Yeah, and my sense is that it was one of those estates. It was previously an estate, so it is very likely that it was also owned by someone whose last name was Loda. It is quite possible that because a lot of the villages, they took on the name of either the owner or the estate. Yeah, so I think Loda was one of those that was one of the estates in Dominica. Yeah, during that period of slavery.
How do I get my estate back now? I need to know
or the people of Loda might be asking for reparations to me, right?
Well, you know what? It's beautiful land. I'm sure with all my talents and whatever, we can make it a really nice area where they can really bring a lot of resources in there, because the stuff that is around this place it's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
But wow, this book, I really want to read it. But seriously though, yes. I did not know all about that. It is really
Yes, no, the history of Dominica is just amazing. It's truly fascinating, and in fact, what I found is that several of the slaves of these Negma or Maroons never spent a day on the plantation. We had some of the chiefs who spent up to over 40 years in the forest. We had a number of those who were born in the forest, and they were seeing white men when they were in their 20s and 30s. They had never set eyes on a white man because they were born in the forest and they were able to claim that forest for their own. And in fact, the Maroons were only defeated after because the British, they first tried to bring their troops from England. They would rotate them on a regular basis, bring them in from the UK to try to hunt down the Maroons and capture them. But they were not very successful. In the end, they actually used slaves. They actually had, and they would pay them, They would give them a certain amount of money for every slave, for every maroon that they captured. They would give them some money, and if they captured the chief, they would give them their freedom. So you had a number of slaves who actually did that, and it's only when they began to collaborate with the white plantation owners that they were able to put an end to the maroon movement, or to make some inroads into the maroon movement. But it took well over 50 years. For more than 50 years, the Maroons of Dominica were able to live free in the interior of Dominica, hundreds and hundreds of them in different areas of Dominica. In the Layu area, for example, you had a group under famous leader called Facel. I talked about in the Grand Fort area, you had Bala. In the Grande area, you had a famous leader called Pangloss, Panglos. In the Taru Mao area, you had a guy by the name of Elephant. Then you had Woba. You had a number, because what the Africans did is that when they came to Dominica and to the rest of the islands, they brought that same system with them, a system of chiefs. So they organized themselves on the chiefs, and that's how they were able for all of these years to resist slavery and really make a dent in the whole slave movement, which is really something that we as Dominicans are to be very, very proud of.
Are you going to have like a book party, a book signing release, or anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As soon as there is an easement in the COVID situation, I certainly plan to do that. Yes, that is definitely on the cards.
I think something that, I just had this idea, and you know me, well, everybody that knows the show knows that while you know me for years, I've come to you with many ideas. I just had an idea because I think it would be a good thing that we can do a Caribbean book tour. Because, even if our books are different, because I've written like 4 books. This is your book. Dr. Dangleben has quite a few books. It would be cool if we, like we hit Atlanta and New York, New Jersey, Texas, California, and just have a book, spend a day in a place and just have a book signing party. I think that would be really cool. So
absolutely.
That is on. We're putting it out there on the show right now, and we can plan it, and we'll get
an excellent idea. Excellent idea.
I think just Dominican. The first one will be just for Dominican writers, and every city that we go to, have her. Oh wow! I think that would be really cool for us to do.
Yes, indeed.
But I truly believe that this book is really going to change our lives, and even just it made me really even more proud to be a Dominican, even just hearing what you were saying. And I just want to say thank you for putting so much time into that research, because even growing up, when people talk about Dominica, it was not it was not very highly spoken of. They talk about, we have all these rivers and we have all these great resources, but it wasn't where, there's, there's amazing things happening in Dominica. They had a movie shot, then they made a big deal out of it. But this, right, where this book you're talking about, all that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's truly amazing. And then you don't find the comparable coverage for the other islands. So when you look at the newspapers of that period, you don't see the same level of coverage for St. Lucia or St. Vincent. In fact, you hardly ever see it mentioned. But practically every week, every day, Dominica was in the newspapers, and something about the island, something about Dominica has always captured the attention of the world. And I think that unique position that we hold is quite something.
But what happened to us? Because we should be a more powerful. I'm calling us a nation, even if we're small. We should be a more powerful people.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've lost our way, unfortunately, but hopefully we can regain some of that. Yeah.
And then that's why we have this type of show that we can talk about stuff like that. That even when and I pray that everybody read the book. I challenge I know I might get in trouble for this, but I challenge the Prime Minister of Dominica and his wife to read the book. I challenge them to put those books by the end of the year. By the time this book come out, it should be in all the schools in Dominica. And if we have to write a petition to do that, that's what we're going to do. Because for me, I know, I'm over 29 years old. I usually do not go above that. And that's good information for me. I would love for my cousins and nieces and my family that's still in Dominica, or even all over the world. I'd love for my children to know about it. I know my daughter would be
Mhm.
fascinated, but she's American. She was born here, but she considers herself a Dominican. She loves Dominica, and this, I mean, is really going to. I know she's going to love that kind of information. So we really
Absolutely.
need to get this book out there into the hands of Dominica, and not just Dominica, the Caribbean, because it's. I think all of this is great news for the whole Caribbean, not just Dominica.
Not just
It's like we
exactly.
brought you on the show today, right when the book is about to release. So wow, this woo! I can't wait.
Yes.
I really can't
Yes,
wait.
indeed.
Um,
Thank you. Yes.
so I guess once it's out, you will let us know. Just send me the link. I will definitely let everyone know as well, to maybe for to make sure everyone get this book, because I think
Mhm.
it is something that it should be in every household, not just in Dominica, but every Dominican wherever they are, because
Absolutely.
phenomenal. I did not
Mhm.
know all of that. We are a special people for real.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
I
indeed.
believe Dominica is God's chosen island of the Caribbean. Don't tell anybody I said
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, man, we wow. I always heard them talk about we're being a resilient people. Um, that gives new meaning to that, though. That
Yeah, yeah. The spirit of the Negmaron is, yeah,
yeah, the next
yeah.
man will
Because
rise up.
I mean, when you had like obedient, when you think about it, obedient slaves in Barbados, in Saint Lucia, in Antigua, you know. In fact, a lot of people know about the Maroons from Jamaica, but the
Mm,
Maroons from Jamaica does not even come close to the Maroons in Dominica.
wow.
Um, the Maroons in Jamaica, for example, they were co-opted. The UK government signed a treaty with them, and basically for in exchange for giving them land and so on, they would so they really compromised. The Dominican Maroons were different. They never signed any treaty.
Mm,
They resisted to the bitter end,
wow.
and that was actually recognized. In fact, one of the when I came across during the debate to abolish the slave trade, in the debate in 1807 in the United Kingdom in the House of Commons, and this member of Parliament by the name of Heron, his last name is Heron, can't remember his first name now, but he stood up and said, the Dominican Maroons are not like the Maroons of Jamaica. And
Mm,
he said, I cannot understand why a country of only 29 miles by 12 miles, and yet they've been able to do so much that
wow.
these Maroons have really, and also the cruelty and the type of punishment that was meted out to the Maroons when they were caught. That also caught the eye. And one of in 1812, for example, I'll just add the last bit on the book. In 1812, there was a governor called Ainsley, Robert Ainsley.
Mm,
And when he came to Dominica, he came with one intention, was to wipe out the Maroons. So
wow.
he issued a proclamation. He gave them he said in 3 weeks, all of the Maroons in the bush have to come back. Else he will send the Rangers after them. And then the Rangers had the right to bayonet men, women, and children. He said,
Wow.
do not spare any one of them. You find them, you kill them. And and for 2 years he was in Dominica, and just brutal. I mean, he did a lot of that, but at the end of the 2 years, the British authorities called him back and says, no, you can't do that. You can't be killing children, because the British press was up in arms about the treatment of the Dominicans. Children have been killed, women have been killed, and it created quite a big deal. Yeah, Robert Ainsley, and he had those trials, what he called martial law. So he would try the Maroons in the morning, and at 2 o'clock he would have them killed.
Oh my
He would
goodness.
have them hung. But he would not only hang them, he would, after they were hung, he would instruct that they cut the necks off,
Oh my.
put their heads on a pole,
Wow.
and parade it around town as a warning to the other slaves, you know, and yeah. So all of that is there. All of the information is there. All of the chronicling of those events are there,
Very
and
good.
yeah. So
I like
it's quite.
something that you said, okay, it speaks volume about, with the Maroons, how they persevered. They did not give up. They were resilient. And
Yes.
again, I think as Dominicans, we have actually failed again because I just looked at the last maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 years where people don't really like it's not a real fight. And I'm not saying that people should be fighting, but it's almost like I say do this and you do this and that's it. That where we don't stand up for what we believe. We don't stand up and say, you know what, hey, this is not how this is supposed to go. I don't care who you are or what you do, but we're going to even like the neck of the Maroons, you call the Mao,
Neck Mao, yeah.
and they really stood up for what they believe in. And that's why I believe we're here today. Also, I'm glad that you shed so much light on the whole story because even some people hear about Negma, all they may have in their head is something in a more
Hmm.
negative thought. So I'm glad that you are able to break it down like that because now my prayer is that those of us that hear it, we will not hear it and then sit on it, but we will do something about it because we are a people of action. We are people. We want to see our country better. It's not, and it doesn't matter where we are. Thank God for the internet. Look at us today. You're in Sudan, and I'm in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S., and we're doing this show. So no matter where we are, if we can find unity on the island and a group of people that say, you know what, put all politics and all of that stuff aside. Let us work for the betterment of the country, especially for the younger generation that the what we didn't get, we have the opportunity to give it to them right now because you have a lot of Dominicans that have gone abroad or different places and still in Dominica that are willing to come together and make Dominica the place it really is supposed
Mhm.
to be. So that's
Absolutely.
my dream that that's what people get from this, even from this book, to know these are this is who the real Dominicans. This is where we started. So let's get back to, even if it's not all of it, to a part of it where we can work together and we can say, you know what, we're doing this for the betterment of the people and the country, and for the younger generation that's coming up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Whew. Well, this is a lot to take in. I mean, this could be a whole show by itself. Like, whoa, I didn't expect all of that, but I'm so thankful that you went in and I know you have a lot more. And I can't say thank you enough for doing that research because I think it's something that is needed and it's powerful. It's powerful. It's very powerful. But we're going on because I'll have you maybe once the book is out, you'll come back and then we'll maybe take it piece by piece, and because I know after I read it, I may need some explanation and stuff like that, just to understand more of it. But definitely, we want to have a show just about that. Maybe we can get some. What are you the only author, or are there other authors in?
Yes, no, it's just me. I'm
Okay.
just the yeah,
Okay, pretty
yeah.
cool, pretty cool. So is there like now that, because we're talking about the Mao on in the 1800s, 17, 1800s,
17, 1800s, yeah.
is there like a group on the island right now, or Dominicans anywhere that is forming as their a new core group to bring some stuff, not bring back slavery or anything like that, but just their people working together? Is there like a Mao group?
Yes, in fact, in the past few years, there has been a resurgence of interest in the Negmawo, and just outside of Fort Young, for example, they built a monument
Okay.
for the very first time, monument to the Negmawo of Dominica. And there have been different people agitating for some of the names to be used on our streets, for example, just to memorialize them,
Very
like
good.
Bala and so on. So yeah, so there have been a lot of keen interest of late, but I still don't think enough has been done. And I'm hoping that as this book, as people understand what these people did, what our ancestors did,
Yes.
that they will have a bigger, I mean, they paid the ultimate sacrifice,
Yes.
they knew that if they were caught, that they would face death.
Mm.
And they still continued escaping. They still continued,
Wow.
taking their chances and resisting, and what I liked about it was the level of resistance. They resisted slavery. They resisted a system that would enslave them, make them work for free, uh, brutalize them. It was just really fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and well, I pray that now that we have all that information, that the many have lost their way, that they will come back and say, you know what, slavery was abolished thousands of years ago. We no longer want to, even have an an idea of it. Just now that people can stand up and say, you know what, now we know better. We need better, and stop just being accepted.
Mhm.
Dominica has so many talented people. So, I mean, look at you and look at me. We both came from Dominica. We're very talented, very smart. So
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes I would watch, and I haven't been that much involved in a lot of the news and stuff like that. I need to get a little more, but even just there's a young lady that I and I'm going to interview. I think from one of the villages, and she's trying to do some stuff there as well. But also she's there. It's like they're trying to block her. It's like when someone, young person, try to do something positive, if they're not saying a certain thing to make somebody look good, then it's almost like they get blocked. But I'm not in making nobody look good. What I'm there for is to make sure that our young people, especially, or the people on the island, they they are treated right, and they have the opportunities that they need. And it's not just about one person being up there and having everything, and then someone else has nothing. I know we can't all be equal, but that's the purpose of all to have this show, and highlighting. We highlight Caribbean people of Caribbean descent on the show, that we can show even the ones that are wherever all over the world, that they can say, you know what, Dominica and the Caribbean have some really amazing people. Um, how can we share our talent? How can we work together? And I'm glad for this show, because this show is not just on, this is not a Facebook or YouTube show. This is a global television show. So my brother, I know that now that they're hearing it, it's on the show. The book is going to come out. They cannot hide. And I'm glad that there's already a group out there of the Negmawa that is already standing. And let's just get it right. Let's just get it right. And I'm calling for unity, that we do not just say, well, what's in it for me? It's not about what's in it for us, but how can we help Dominica? How can we? And I know we'll get resistance, but you know what? Like the Mawa, we can do this. But like I said, there's a whole other story there. We're gonna move on forward. You've been very busy. One of the questions are that you're the founder of an online magazine, the Dominicannet. Can you tell us more about it? Yeah, go ahead. Tell us more about the magazine.
Yeah, sure. In 2001, actually almost 20 years now, I started this Dominican.net again to stay connected to Dominica, but also to highlight different aspects of Dominican life, of Dominican culture, of the history of Dominica. So throughout the years, I've done a lot of research about great Dominicans. Like I did research on Reverend Porter, who was the head of the Council of Churches for many years. I did, Reverend Porter. I did a lot of other individuals of note, like Casimir and people like that I spotlighted, because we have a really rich history of Dominicans who did a lot of great things. So the Dominican.net has been able to chronicle a lot of those individuals in terms of talking about what what they've done, what they've accomplished, what they've contributed to the world. I've been able to do that. I also was trying to do a lot of contemporary stuff, like up-to-date happenings and so on. But because it's a time-consuming effort and so on, so I've not been doing a lot lately. But the body of evidence is there, the material is there, it's accessible, and anybody can actually go on there and see it. It's the name of the website is Dominicannet.
Okay. Maybe, like you said, that could be a 20-year reunion, and you might be able to just get a team of people because I think that's something really amazing, which it would be a great, not a start, a continuation for even people that may want to invest in Dominica, people that want to help. They'll be like, oh, wow, because I know you research everything before you put it out there. So at least they know whatever information that we're getting, it's really good. So I'm praying that, whatever the help that you need, that this can be a magazine that will be known all over the world for good information, good content. Just like we have the Imagine Me TV show, bringing awareness to our Caribbean people. So, hey, we just don't know. Something might come up out of that. You never know who's watching us. You know what? Hey, I just want to sponsor this magazine. Let's get it going. You have been really, really busy. You also host a weekly radio program show on Q95 in Dominica called Lifeline. What is the focus of that program?
Yes, so I've been doing that now for the past 4 years, and what I try to do again is to bring to light the history. I focus a lot on the history of Dominica. As I said, I'm a student of history, and I spend a lot of time researching our history, and I'm able to relate that on the program. I also do a lot of interviews with different individuals. I bring a lot of useful information with regards to health. I focus a lot on health issues as well, just helping, researching different, bringing on doctors to talk about different types of illnesses, and then just bring people of interest, like you're doing, the same way that you'd interview me, and I would have that on the radio show as well. And it's been going on now for about 4 years, and it is one of the more popular programs on television, because every time someone listens, they learn something. Yeah. It's about informing, it's about educating, it's about bringing information, and I want every time somebody listens to the program and say, boy, I never knew that before. Oh, I've learned something new. And people tune in just for that. People tune in just to listen, what's new, what is happening, So for example, I've been able to bring information. I have done some good interviews with during the time of the difficult time we had in Dominica with the dreads and so on, and the police and dreads. I've been able to interview some of the key individuals who were involved in that, to bring up the history, what happened, the behind the scenes and so on. So all of that information that people have found very, very useful. And I continue to do that on a weekly basis. Yeah.
Good. I'm interested in hearing about the dreads, because I remember as a little girl growing up, I think all I remembered mostly was, I know there was a time there was a really bad man, a really bad dread man. Was it Gallagher or something like that?
I think you're referring to Tumba Gallagher. Yeah, Tumba.
Oh, yes, that man. But all I remember is the whole of Kulibi Street, we were afraid, people were hiding.
Yes,
and he go to sleep. I don't remember the whole story. I think he got kidnapped from people.
He kidnapped 2 young ladies. Yeah. He kidnapped 2 young ladies and so.
And that's all I remember. And I was just afraid of Dreadmans. I didn't like. I even when my son came out, I'm like, that's a bad thing. Don't do that. This is terrible. I'm okay now. Afterwards, I realized that's it's not about the dreadlock. But I would definitely. So it's in an archive that we can go back and listen to it.
Yes.
If someone wanted to hear, or what is the site that they go to, or how do they tune in?
Well, they would have to. I have not put it out publicly, but if someone is interested, then I can make it available to them. Yeah, okay. It's not out there publicly though, unfortunately.
I'll definitely like to listen to it. But even the show itself, the Q, is it Q?
Q95, it's from 10 to 1 on Sundays.
Okay.
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Dominica time on Sundays. Yeah.
And they go to qfm.com or?
Yes, QFM, wiseqfm.com. Yeah.
Okay. Is it like on Facebook Live too, or is it just?
Yeah, what I do when I'm doing the interviews, I usually do the recording on Saturdays. So I would record at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, something a live record, and then I would replay the interview on the Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but because of the network here, I don't risk the live show per se, because every now and then we lose power. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when you come back to the US, because we only borrowed Sudan. Is it, you said South Sudan?
South Sudan.
That's for a few years. Once you get them, and now we're on track, we want you back. So we're going right into this. Okay, you currently serve in the position of Deputy Chief of Staff Strategy in Juba, South Sudan, an organization which monitors the peace process in South. There's two S's a tie in my tongue. You are far away from home. What motivated you to take that job?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, but like everything else, there's something called destiny, right? And I feel something of destiny in this. I was actually in Dominica doing consultancies after I resigned from the IMF. I went back to Dominica and was just kind of operating out of Dominica doing consultancies. And then I got this call one time and said, well, we have this opening in South Sudan for an economist. And would you be interested? I said, well, yeah. I said, yeah, it's about for about 1 year and so on. So I said, okay, I will take it. I get to South Sudan, and then I got into the middle of a peace situation, because South Sudan had a very vicious. South Sudan, let me just very quickly, they got their independence in 2011. They're if you like, the youngest nation in the world. They were originally part of Sudan. But Sudan was, for a long time, it was split along the north and the south. The north of Sudan, they are more like the Arabs, Muslim, and the South Sudan, the black people, Christian. So you had this ideological divide. They were thrown together, obviously, by the British many years ago. But you had this divide. So the South, for about 50 years, they fought for their independence from the North. So when they finally got their independence in 2011, they kept the name South Sudan, and the North retained the name Sudan. So the Sudan we know today is really Northern Sudan. And then Southern Sudan. So the North is Muslim, Arab, the South is Christian. So they got their independence in 2011, and then unfortunately in 2013, civil war broke out. The country has 63 different tribes.
Wow.
They started fighting. It's a brutal civil war. Over 600,000 people got killed. About 6 million fled as refugees to neighboring countries: Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, Democratic Republic of the Congo, all the countries that surround them. 6 million South Sudanese left and fled. People would have seen The Lost Boys. I'm sure people would have seen The Lost Boys, that documentary in the US about the South Sudanese young men who trekked out of South Sudan and so on, became something in the US. So they, this, out of that civil war, they signed a peace agreement in 2015. And then by 2017, when I got into South Sudan, the peace agreement was not working. They were still fighting each other. So the organization that I was with, which at the time was headed by the former president of Botswana, decided to rejuvenate the peace agreement. So we brought again all the warring parties together over a whole year between 2017 and 2018. Started in June of 2017 up to September of 2018 in Addis Ababa for a year and basically 15 months. negotiating, trying to come to an agreement, to a peace agreement. Finally, the agreement was signed in 2018, and that's the agreement now we are monitoring. The parties, they've agreed not to fight each other. In fact, just last year, February of 2020, they formed the unity government. So all of the major parties that were fighting each other, that were killing each other, they are now working together in one government.
Wow.
And the idea is that in 2 years' time, there should be elections, and the people of South Sudan will be able to choose a government. We are hoping that they will stop fighting, that there will not be a resurgence of fighting. But it's a very difficult and very complex society, because although we don't have the regular fighting, but we almost on a daily basis people are dying, because you have these traditional types of conflicts. We call it intercommunal violence. So, for example, just give you one example. There is a particular state in South Sudan called Jonglei and Peebo, and in that area you have three main tribes. You have a tribe called the Dinka Niwa. You have, sorry, they call them the Dinka Boers, and then you have another tribe called the Luda Niwa and the Merle. Now, these three tribes have been fighting for centuries. Why? Because the Merle, they have a tradition of raiding the villages of the Luda Niwa.
Wow.
They will raid the villages, kill the men, capture their women and their children, and take them back to the village. That has been going on for centuries. It continues today. In fact, just last week, they reached an agreement to free 60 women and children that they had captured last year.
Wow.
So every time the dry season starts, which is between January and July, the fighting, that conflict starts again. Then there's also conflict over grazing lands, because you have the Dinkas. I mean, South Sudan has the most cattle in any country in the world, because cattle is a thing of value. But it's one main tribe, the Dinkas, that have the cattle. So they take the cattle because it's certain dry areas, they move their cattle to other areas of the country to where different tribes are, and that creates conflict. So they trample upon the agricultural land, the people get angry, they take up arms, they shoot and so on. So it's a very complicated country. And very.
I mean, in this day and age, though, you would think that these things don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and then you, right in the middle of it, it looked like you had a part to play in helping that peace. So that's good.
Yes, absolutely. As the deputy chief of staff, I'm actually responsible for about 30 different professionals from all over the world, because the peace agreement itself has different components. So there is one on security, which we agree that all of the warring parties, they will give up their arms and they will form a unified military. But there is also a humanitarian side. You have to get back all of these refugees in the neighboring countries, and need to get them back into South Sudan. Then there is a transitional justice component, because there were so many atrocities committed during the civil war. Extrajudicial killings, a lot of horrible things happened. People need to be held to account. That's another aspect of it. Then there is the economic reform that has to be done. So it's a multifaceted type of agreement that has to be undertaken.
Wow, that is, again, you have so much information and so much experience. Wow. I'm glad to know you, Dr. Fountain. Wow. So tell us more about, well, I know you touched a little bit, but is there like any more information that you can tell us about the situation in Sudan? I mean, it seems like there's a lot going on.
Yes, I mean, there is a lot, and for me, the most difficult thing is that the peace is still tenuous. The peace is still very fragile. I mean, when you think that, just 2-3 years ago, when I came there in 2017, they were killing people People were dying almost every day. Thankfully, since they signed the agreement in 2018, the dying has stopped, except as I said, for these intercommunal, inter-clan type of rivalries that are going on. We try now to put things in place so that they can have the elections. So right now the constitution is being redone. They're doing a new constitution. Then a census has to be conducted. You have to put in place all of the apparatus, the mechanisms to have an election in 2 years' time. So it's going to be very challenging. It is very challenging, in fact, and in all of this, just to get the parties together, just to get the parties to agree. I mean, it was difficult, things that you would think that people should just agree on for the good of the country. Now everybody's looking at their own particular tribe, their own particular, and so it's very, very complicated. I mean, I've never seen so much complication in terms of human interactions and human behaviors. But this idea of tribe, of tribalism is incredible. And although for us in the Caribbean, we don't have this tribal thing because the Europeans made sure they took that away from us. But we have it manifested in terms of politics, because when you have people identifying with a particular political party and they will not listen to another person from another party, that's exactly what it is.
Yes,
so you have a tribal type of
politics.
In politics, which is very unfortunate.
That's how I was like, man, I'm glad that we don't have actual tribes in Dominica. Oh my God.
we have a good substitution, Yeah, we have a very good substitution.
The tribe of Pulibistri with the tribe of
yeah.
Oh man, but wow. But is there though and I don't want to say reform, but how would they educate the people though, with, because it seemed like there's something already mentally embedded in them where, I mean, because even for them to go kidnap women and kill the men, I'm like, you would think if that's been going on for years, that there are younger people being born into this, how can they educate them and stuff to say, you know what, this is not right.
Yeah, it's very unusual as well, because there is, for example, it has another set of a particular tribe, and they call them the White Army. And during the Civil War, these young men, they would strip completely naked, and they would paint their bodies in white, and they would go up against artillery, against guns,
wow,
with absolutely no fear.
Wow.
Because their belief is that once they paint their bodies white, that they will not get, that the bullets can hurt them.
Oh wow, they really believe wow.
They really believe that. But in the end, I mean, a number of them were, hundreds and hundreds of them were slaughtered. But they're also very fierce fighters, But you have that belief today. I mean, you're talking about something that happened years ago, but now, currently, in this day and age, So yeah. So I mean, in terms of educating people, in terms of people understand that they don't have to do those types of behavior, that there is a different way to doing things. Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult, I can tell you.
So what is like the school system there, because these kids, do they go, because I'm sure there's young people coming to that.
Sure. Yeah, like one of the, like everything else, the British, they did a lot of horrible things, but one of the good things they did is the school system. So usually you find where the British, where they colonized those countries, it tends to have a very good education system, and the same is true for South Sudan. You have a lot of very powerful South Sudan, luminaries, brilliant people and so on. They have a very good system. However, not many people have access to it. Okay, so you find a lot of young girls in particular don't get a chance to go to school. Because you still have a situation where in some tribes, they need to be married by the time they're 12, 13 years old. They have to be married.
Say
So,
what? Come again?
yeah, you heard me right. Yeah, 12, 13 years old. They are married out. They are married out. So for the parents, they don't see any utility in sending their children to school because they need to make sure that these kids are sold off for marriage, because when they get married, the men have to bring in cows. Usually they pay the dowry. They have to pay in cows. So their girls are precious like that, but only in terms of adding to their wealth. So yeah, so you have a situation where it has been a struggle to really get the young girls in particular to school. But you have a number of organizations. I mean, the UN is here in a big way. You have the United Nations mission in South Sudan that has about 20,000 troops that are there for the security. But you also have a lot of NGOs that are working in health, in education, just a number. I mean, you have thousands and thousands of foreigners there trying to help out.
Hopefully my NGO will come there one of these days. We'll see. But wow, the 12 and 13-year-old getting married, because I used to tell my kids that when they were like even 18 and under, they were not even allowed to date, far less. and that's legal over there?
Yeah, it's legal. It's just the culture, and to get people away from those beliefs that they've been practicing for thousands of years, it's not an easy thing.
It's not. Wow.
It's not easy at all. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is it something that, because I guess I didn't do much research on that and stuff like that, but is it something that is known that all these practices are going on?
Yes. Oh yeah. Of course. It's anybody that if you take up any book, if you go online, and yeah, it's there. It's there. It's not hidden. It's just the culture. It's just the way things are within some tribes.
But do you find, because here, we have a different situation here, but do you find some people that are not from the culture trying to use that as an excuse to be with younger? Because, here, when some of the things like that, they're like sex trafficking, where they sell these young girls and stuff like that. And some of these older men want to be with these young girls. Is there, how do they determine though that this is really someone from the tribe, or it's not just some outsiders that just have a bad mind that want to be with these young girls?
Oh no, it's very tribal based, and it's very easy to tell the various tribes. I mean, although there's 63 of them, but you can tell by just looking. You see the
63 of them, and you can tell them. I know what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's so it is really within the culture, but typically you don't have for example 13-year-old girls marrying 14-year-old boys, right? It's usually 13-year-old girls with much older men, and that kind of thing. So it's a very it's not the best, but that's just
I guess that's what it.
Yeah, that's just what it is. That's just and people measure their wealth in terms of cows, so
Wow.
you can't touch this. Yeah.
Wow. So they have a lot of cattle over there?
Oh, absolutely. Cattle it has the most head of cattle per capita in anywhere else in the world.
Wow. That is
Yep.
that I just my head I'm just trying to take in all this information because I wasn't prepared for all of that. But all this good information, it makes me want to just, dig in deeper and have you back on the show for sure. Because, wow. Ooh. we are, and we're back on the Facts of Life. And today I am speaking to Dr. Fountain. He's all the way in Sudan, and I think it might be like 1:30 a.m. now. So welcome back. I'm shocked that you see this. You're like, oh man, what is my friend up to again? She's always up to something. So, I had the idea, and again, you know me, I'm always trying to empower, and that's why I'm empowering, encourage, even if my charity just to help people. And I felt like even in the islands and here that our talented people are not getting enough recognition, and that's why I wanted to come up with a show where we honor fashion designers, models, people that are in the music video industry, and my friend from Antigua is helping with that. So this is what this is all about, and we're hoping to have it in June. We may push the date to July. I'm not really sure. So that is what this is all about. Just to the talent that we have out there, because we have such talented people, and to me, sometimes it's just wasted away. Where I want to bring them on that platform and give them that opportunity that the world can hear about them. They can be on a television show, and that's what this is all about. Just recognizing artists and people in that industry. So
excellent.
yes,
That's great stuff. Yes.
thank you for that. And just because I think for me, even when I was coming up in the fashion world and doing different things, it was so hard sometimes to even get people to help you, especially being someone from the Caribbean and being Black. And it's always like who you know, and if you don't have money and stuff like that. So for me, I know a lot of people give up. A lot of people would give up if they had walked in my shoes and some of the experiences that I had. But I knew I had to persevere. So now I'm using that platform to encourage people. And that is what we're supposed to do. I'm not going to say, well, because you're Black or because you're white or because you support this party or whatever. We want to come together and empower and help one another, because the funny thing is you just never know who you're going to meet and where you're going to reach, because I see it happen in that same industry that some of these people I would literally maybe beg for help. And when I say help, it's just like, wait, how do you sew a sleeve? How do I hem this? They would just be like, oh, I don't know. And just not help me. And then I look and they literally nowhere to be found. And I'm like, it's a blessing to be able to give back and to help someone. So I'm really, so just in case any designers or artists or models over there, send them our way, because it's a global show. So we're looking for artists all over the world, and whether it's in fashion design or music videos and stuff like that, models.
Okay, yeah, sure. We can certainly hook up somewhere, definitely.
And I want it to be huge, so every year that we're going to that. But we're going to keep going, because this is like a 2-hour show, and I know you got to sleep. So while we have like 3 more questions, do you have more time? Are you good?
I'm feeling just a little bit tired, but...
Okay, so we'll go for that real quick. This one, I hope this one doesn't make you too tired, though. You served as an opposition senator in the Dominican Parliament. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, so I spent about 4 years in Parliament in Dominica as an opposition senator. I contested the 2014 elections in Dominica with the opposition party. I'm told that I lost by 2 votes.
Wow.
But it was obviously rigged. One of those things where my results were rigged. I'll tell you how it was rigged, in one polling station, they claim that I got 17 spoiled ballots. 17 spoiled ballots, all in my name. When I looked back, going back to 1970, that same polling station had an average of 1 spoiled ballot.
Wow.
Going back to 7, and then I had 17.
Wow.
We contested. We were able to get back most of them, but in the end, they kept just enough. They kept 3, just enough to give me to say that I lost, when I should have really won by at least 30 votes. Yeah. So that was that, and then I became a senator. And but the problem is that, as I said, I talked earlier about the governance of Dominica, or in Dominica, you don't really get a chance to contribute much, because the prime minister made sure that he called. He only had very few House of Assembly meetings, usually around the budget. Once that was over, that was it. We probably have probably one more. So very few legislations have been passed. Very few, it's just not progressive at all.
Yeah.
And very little debate. So the government don't like to be challenged. So they don't open up. They don't
Wow.
summon parliament so that it can be challenged. It's just a mess. It was really, for me, it was a waste. It was a really waste of time, because it never got a chance to really do much, to really look at any type of legislation, to really challenge the government in critical areas. The only chance really was during the budget debate, which they have to do according to law. And they would do that, but then that was just once a year, so it was not really, I mean, a parliamentary meeting at least once a month. You should have a parliamentary debate, but that's not the case in Dominica, sadly.
With all your expertise and stuff, I think you would have been. I mean, when I heard that you were, senator and stuff, I was like, yes, you could. I know your input would be.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been the ideal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been wow.
Yeah,
wow. That itself is another show. So I know you're tired. We're gonna just keep on going. There's a couple more, and then you're an economist at the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in Washington, D.C. That sounds very interesting. What was the highlight of your position or your job?
Yeah, actually, one of the things that I liked a lot about the IMF was that it gave me an opportunity to really get a chance to work on diverse countries around the globe, which was really good. And I mean, to get into the IMF to begin with, as far as I know, I'm the only Dominican to have ever worked there since, and no one since. There were no Dominican before me, and there's been no Dominican since that worked at the IMF. It's a very competitive place to get into. Typically, you're competing on a yearly basis. They take about 20 to 30 economists, usually PhDs, and you have about 4,000 applications from across the globe, because everybody, I mean, in terms of an economist, that is the pinnacle. That is the place as an economist that you really want to work, because the very best across the globe get a chance to work there. So I was very fortunate to have been able to get in. Was able to work on several countries, and that's what gave me my love for Africa. I was able to work on interestingly enough, Afghanistan. I got a chance to actually do very good work in Afghanistan, because the US actually invaded Afghanistan in 2001, believe it or wrong, November, December 2001. I was in Afghanistan in April of 2002, and right after the US left, and basically the task was to help the Afghans introduce their new currency, and then to begin to reverse the tremendous havoc that the Taliban wreaked on that country. Because when the Taliban took over in 1996, they dismissed all of the central bank people, all of the professionals. They got rid of them. They got rid of computers. Everything was just destroyed. And that remained that way until 2002. So we had to go back there and basically, reintroduce everything, retrain, some of the economists and so on. So that was probably the most interesting part of my work at the IMF. That month and a half I spent in Afghanistan in 2002.
Wow!
It was really quite amazing. Yeah.
You sound like a world traveler too, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it involved. I mean, that's one of the things afterwards. I mean, I did 13 years, but after a while, it gets really tiring, because I would constantly be traveling, constant. 12. Go, and then you're gone for 3 weeks to come back to Washington. You spend a month, and you go out again. Yeah, it was constant. But the experience was invaluable because you get to interact with prime ministers, you get to interact with ministries of finance, you get to understand
Wow, that's some
the
great
way the
experience.
economies work and so on. So it was really for me, really formative and really I learned a lot. I also contributed a lot. I worked on some of the like on Niger, Benin, Mali, some of the French francophone African countries.
Wow.
So it was really very useful. But after a while, I felt I needed to give something back to Dominica. I felt I was exhausted, wanted to do something else,
Yeah.
and that's what I did. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
You've lived a amazing life and just all this knowledge in your head. Well, we pray, and I know you're tired, so I'm gonna let you go. But I know your heart, you love Dominica. We all love Dominica, and one day we're gonna get that opportunity to
absolutely.
come in there to do, to help our country, to help the people there. So in closing, what words of encouragement or say something to the people that are watching that just talk to our viewers. Encourage them for me, please.
You use the word perseverance, and I think that is the word I want to as my point of departure. Life is never easy, and for some of us, and for some of you, uh, you may be going through some really difficult and trying times. But anybody that has done anything in life of any value, of any note, they've had to push, they've had to persevere. I mean, I come from a very small village. Some would say the end God's back. But through perseverance, through using the natural talent that God has given me, and through hard work, honest hard work, I am where I am today. And I think if you work hard, if you trust God, if you're honest in what you're doing, that is, the sky truly is the limit. I honestly believe that. I believe that you only fail when you give up. But as long as you keep fighting, as long as you keep pushing through, you will get through. And it might take months, it might take years, but the key is perseverance.
Very
And whatever it is that you do, whether it's trying to get a degree, whether it's trying to get your own business started, whether it's trying to get your family back together, the key is perseverance. And you keep persevering with faith and with confidence in God, then anything can happen, and all good things can happen to you. Yeah.
thank you very much. I am so proud and so honored to have known you and to call you my friend for, well, let's say it's over 20 years. We're not going to go
A
back
very
as
long
I was a
time.
teenager or something. Wow,
Yeah.
it's been a while, so it's really great, and it's very encouraging and empowering to see not just my friend but my fellow Dominican doing so well. So thank you very much, and I know I am very thankful that even it's late that you said, what, yeah, I'll do it. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been my pleasure. I look forward to talking to you again. And when the book is out, I'll give you a shout. Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely. And
Uh,
let's we will talk on Facebook. We definitely need to do that tour. All we have
yes.
enough Dominican writers. We definitely, and everybody there's a city where everybody is, they set it up, and we need to do that. But thank you very much.
Well, yes, and thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Take care. Bye bye.
Right, then, if you are
Okay.
just,
Bye.
I know that this will come to the end of the show, and I've been speaking with Dr. Fountain. He's over there in Sudan. He is a proud Dominican, my friend, and I'm so excited that he took the time to come on the show. And this is the Imagine Me TV show, real life, real talk, real issues. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.